Thank you, Mike. Good evening. My name is Kevin Haney, and as Mike said, I'm with the law firm of Miller & Haney, who serves as legal counsel to CoServ Electric. And this evening, I'm going to be announcing the voting results for the items of business that are before the membership, which are approval of the 2010 annual meeting and also the election of directors for Districts 3, 4, and 6. Also, as I mentioned at last year's meeting, CoServ's board a couple of years ago adopted an elections policy that includes the appointment of an independent third-party election official to administer all aspects of the director nomination and election process. And VR Election Services served again this year, as they did last year, as the election officials. So the mail ballots that you received were sent back into VR Elections, and they collected, validated, tabulated, and certified those votes for this meeting. And I know that Carl Coker with VR Election Services, he's the election director. He's sitting right here in the middle section of the stands. I wanted to recognize him this evening for his work related to the meeting. To transact business at tonight's meeting, CoServ's bylaws require a couple of things. One, we have to have a quorum, which the bylaws define as 1% of the members as of the record date for this meeting, and those members have to be present as determined by the mail ballots that were sent in. And then also, any action that's taken has to be by a majority of the number of members that voted on that item. So for tonight's meeting, the minimum number for a quorum was 1,366 members, but tonight we have 2,910 members represented by the mail ballots received. So as Mr. Pelzel indicated earlier, we do have a quorum. Recall in past years there was a question about whether or not we could get quorum, and I think it's great that the membership takes the time to vote each year so that business can be transacted at the annual meeting. With respect to the items of business to be voted on, the membership was asked to approve the 2010 annual meeting minutes. A total of 2,393 members voted to approve those minutes, which is a majority, so those minutes were approved. And those minutes were included in the June issue of the Texas Co-op Power magazine if you want to go back and read those. Next, the membership was asked to elect directors for Districts 3, 4, and 6. In District 3, Clyde Geary is the incumbent, and John Dale Antonia and Alonzo Blaylock are the challengers. Mr. Gear is on the podium and has already been recognized, and I understand that Mr. Antonia and Mr. Blaylock are here this evening, and at this time I'd like to ask you to stand and be recognized. In the District 3 election, a total of 2,737 members cast votes. Mr. Gear received 1,707 votes, Mr. Del Antonia 562 votes, and Mr. Blaylock 468 votes. Since Mr. Gear received a majority of the votes, he is reelected to the board for an additional 3-year term. So congratulations, Mr. Gear. In District 4, Jerry Cobb is the incumbent, and Rod Reardon, Harvey Kitchens, and Richard Snitker are the challengers. Mr. Cobb has been introduced earlier. It's my understanding that Mr. Kitchens is here, and not sure about Mr. Reardon and Mr. Snitker, but if any of the three of you are present, if you would stand at this time and be recognized. In the District 4 election, a total of 2,787 members cast votes. Mr. Cobb received 1,459, Mr. Reardon 633, Mr. Kitchens 515, and Mr. Snitker 180. So since Mr. Cobb received a majority of the votes cast, he is reelected to the board for an additional 3-year term. So congratulations, Mr. Cobb. In District 6, Bill Ragsdale is the incumbent director in a hotly contested race. He was unopposed. There were 2,555 members that cast votes, and he luckily received every one of them. So he is reelected to the board for an additional 3-year term. Congratulations, Mr. Ragsdale. And in closing, on behalf of CoServ Electric and its board of directors, again, I want to thank each of you that took the time to vote this year, and I'll turn the meeting back over to Mr. Drexbury.
I do need to now turn the meeting back over to our board chairman as he has to adjourn the meeting.
I'd like to thank all of you for staying for the Q&A session, and at this time I will officially adjourn this meeting.